Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruch.com.
Practically, when is the latest time that one may recite the morning Shema? There's so many times mentioned on the calendar. Which one should I follow, and what's the difference between them? Magen Avram, Balatanya, Gra. Magen Avram from 72 minutes alais, Magen Avram from 90 minutes alais. So many different calculations. What's going on here? All I want to know is till when I can say Kriya Shema. So as we discussed in the previous lesson, it is a biblical requirement and obligation for a man each morning to recite the morning Shema within 3 hours from the morning. He has 3 full hours from when the morning begins. However, when does the morning start? What's the definition of morning? As well, what's the definition of hours? If we don't know when the morning begins, and we don't know how many minutes is in these 3 hours, then we cannot make our calculation as to when is the end time of Shema. So let's first begin with the basics. When is morning in this regard? When does the clock start ticking for the 3 hours of Seif Zman Kriya Shema? So we find regarding this matter a major, famous debate amongst Rishonim and Poskim as to whether the morning begins regarding Kriya Shema and other matters from sunrise or from daybreak, which is known as a lais. A long list of Poskim, Rishonim, and Achreinim rule that the day begins from alais hashachar, which is at least an hour or more, depending on which opinion you hold by, before sunrise. And hence, in their opinion, the clock begins from daybreak from alais, not from the later time of sunrise. And when 3 hours pass from alais, the biblical mitzvah has expired, and you lost your opportunity. Who holds of this opinion? This is the opinion of the Trumas Hadeshen, the Magen Avram in chapter 58, who says that this is according to everybody, meaning even those who normally say the morning starts from sunrise. Regarding Shema, they agree that it starts from daybreak. And so rules the El Yerabba, the Chidah and Chaim Sha'ol, Chesed La'alafim, the Ben Ish Chai, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Kaf Chaim, and other Poskim like this opinion. However, another long list of Rishonim and Achreinim rule that no, the 3 hour calculation of Seif Zman Kriya Shema begins from morning, and when is morning? Sunrise, not the earlier time of alais of daybreak. So is the opinion of the Rishonim, the Shulta Giborim on the Mordechai. So is the opinion of the Minchas Kayin, the Levush, Tosfos Yantif, the Knesset Sagdela, the Gra, the Aruch HaShulchan, and others. So what should we do? We have here a big machlekes. So usually in such a case of a machlekes, we have 3 determining factors which will arbitrate how to follow. Number 1, is there an accepted custom? If there's already an accepted custom, then we follow with whatever the custom is, whichever approach the custom is like. That becomes the halacha. If there is no accepted custom, then you follow the posek that is your Mara D'Asra, that he's the posek that you follow amongst the opinions we mentioned. And if also that's not found, everyone is holy, everyone's the same, then you have to apply the rule Safek D'Oraisa L'Chumra, and initially always say Kriya Shema within the earlier Zman, the earlier approach. And if you missed it, to nevertheless make sure to make up Shema within the later approach. So practically, which one of these 3 is it? Is there a minhag as such a thing? Is there a set posek who we follow, or do we follow the third approach to say Safek D'Oraisa L'Chumra? So for the Sfardim, it's quite simple. The Chidah writes in Chaim Sha'ol, and as we already said, based on Chesed La'alafim and the Ben Ish Chai and the Kaf Chaim, that the custom by them is to follow the opinion of the Magen Avram. We mentioned holds of the earlier time, the 3 hours begin from alais hashachar. And this is the custom of all Sephardi Jewry, to always say the morning Shema within 3 hours from daybreak, not from sunrise. This is listed in the calendars as Zman Magen Avram, which is always the earlier time. That's what Sephardim do. Ashkenazim, Litvish, what do? You have many fine Ashkenazi poskim on each side of the debate. So many Ashkenazim are accustomed to be machmir initially. It's always implied from the Mishnah Berurah, who brings both approaches and doesn't arbitrate between them and simply states, anyways, the Chatchila, you have to say it earlier the better. Nonetheless, there are many Ashkenazim and Litvish segments of Jewry who even the Chatchila followed the later approach of 3 hours from sunrise, as this was the opinion of the Gra as we listed in the opinions. And the Gra is the Mara D'Asra of Lita and therefore they accepted his ruling. So testifies the Aruch HaShulchan 58:14 that the main opinion is like the Gra, and so is printed in the Luchas. The Igros Moshe in volume 1, Tshuva 24, writes that the custom of most communities in Russia and Litva is like the Gra. He says so is the main opinion regarding all matters, and only select individuals are machmer to say it earlier. And so also writes the Chazon Ish that even initially we follow the Gra. So we see amongst Litvish jury that it's split. Many communities following the earlier time did the Suffolk, and many others following the later time, even the Chatchila. Now what about the Chabad opinion? How do Chabad Hasidim follow? What does the Alter Rebbe and the Chabad Rebbeim have to say about this major debate? So here we find something very interesting. In the Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe, chapter 58, halacha 3, repeated as well in chapter 89, halacha 1. He rules like the Magen Avram that the 3 hours begin from daybreak from Aleis HaShachar, clearly arbitrating like the earlier Zman. However, later on in his Siddur, which was written approximately 20 to 30 years later, when he discusses the end time of Kriya Shema and he makes a calculation for Russia, he calculates it from 3 hours from sunrise. And in essence, this retraction from his ruling in the Shulchan Aruch was already retracted in the Shulchan Aruch itself in chapter 443, halacha 4 and 459, halacha 10, that we calculate daytime from sunrise and not from Aleis. And now while the Tzemach Tzedek in Chidushim 3 asks on the Alter Rebbe in his Siddur, practically the Chabad custom, as the Rebbe points out in letters and Sichos, is like the Alter Rebbe in his Siddur, that we hold that Seis Man Kriya Shema is 3 hours from sunrise, and it's identical to the opinion of the Gra. And that's why you see in many calendars the earlier time called Zman Magen Avram, and the later time called Zman Graz, which is Goyin Reb Zalman for the Alter Rebbe, or Balatanya, or Gra. An interesting theory recorded by the Avram Chaim Noah in Shiurei Tzion in explaining and understanding the retraction of the Alter Rebbe in a Siddur from a Shulchan Aruch is as follows: that the opinion of the Magen Avram that we count from daybreak, the earlier Zman, is only possible if you hold like Zman Rabbeinu Tam regarding Tzeis HaKechavim, which is in truth how they held in that time. But once the custom came to follow the Geonim and hold that Bein HaShmashos begins immediately after sunset, as happened in the era of the Alter Rebbe and the Gra, you're forced to retract also on the beginning time of Shema, and to make it later and delayed until sunrise. They go both one in hand. And therefore it's not that the Alter Rebbe changed his mind, but it's that the minhag changed and forced the different conclusion. Nonetheless, the Alter Rebbe concludes there in the Siddur with a very important note. And that is that one is to be careful to recite Shema at least 45 minutes before the end time. He doesn't literally say 45 minutes, but that's the calculation that comes out from the time he mentions there. And thus, Chabad Hasidim, those who follow the Alter Rebbe, yes, we go by the later time, and we allow biblically the saying of Shema until 3 hours pass from sunrise, but initially we must be careful, based on the directive of the Alter Rebbe, to always say Shema at least 45 minutes before that end time that's printed in the calendar for Zman Gram Balatanya, which in conclusion ends up that usually the Lichatchila time for Chabad Chassidim is even earlier than the Zman of the Magen Avram, as 45 minutes before the end time of the Alter Rebbe is usually earlier than the end time of the Magen Avram. While all the above does justice to explaining the differences between the two main times mentioned on the calendar and how each community should follow, it does not explain how many minutes are in each hour. And that is a discussion in and of its own, of which the practical conclusion is that these hours are viewed as manius, which means you take the daylight hours from sunrise to sunset and divide it by 12, and then times that by 3, and then add that either to Aleis or to sunrise based on whatever opinion you follow. So is the ruling of the mass majority of Rishonim and Poskim Achreinim, including the Alter Rebbe, both in the Shulchan Aruch and Siddur, the Pri Chadash, the Rambam, the Ramah, the Mechaber in the Shulchan Aruch, and many others. However, it's worth noting that there is a minority approach, which is known as the approach of the Pnei Yeshua and the Poskim who rule like him, who say that the hours are 60 minutes each and never change summer or winter. And in fact, based on his approach, we don't even calculate it from morning. We calculate it starting from 6 hours after the halachic midnight. So between 6 and 9 hours after halachic midnight, that's when you can always say Shema, biblically according to that approach, which often can end up being until 9 o'clock in the morning, both in summer and winter. Practically, we do not rule like this opinion, and one may not rely on this opinion, and this opinion is rightfully not even listed within the calendars. For understanding of this approach and who holds like it, you can look in the original article written and uploaded on the website. Another issue that requires lengthy discussion, which we cannot dedicate the class to, is if you follow the opinion of the Magen Avram, to count 3 hours from Alais. When is Alais? So there's different opinions regarding when Alais starts, 90 minutes, 72 minutes, and then also when you count the day till Tzeisek Ichavim, when it's Tzeisek Ichavim. It's very confusing, very complex, and practically even those who follow Magen Avram, different calendars mention different times for the same place for the Seif Zman Kriya Shema of Magen Avram. And the final ruling in summary is as follows. Chabad Chassidim and many Litvish communities who follow the Gra are accustomed that they can say Kriya Shema till the Seif Zman of Balatanya Gra that's written in the calendar. However, Chabad Chassidim should always initially make sure to say it prior to 45 minutes before that time. Sfardim and many other of Litvish Jewry follow the earlier time of the Magen Avram, and within the time of the Magen Avram, the Sephardi custom is to follow it, calculating from a 90-minute alais, meaning that alais starts 90 minutes before sunrise, while the Ashkenazi minog in Chutz La'aretz is to do 72 minutes before sunrise. And anyone who's unsure should speak to the Rav to find out what calendar they should be following, what Zmanim is correct for them.
Thank you for listening to ShulchanAruch.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at ShulchanAruch.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.